Hello everyone and welcome back. It is time for the season finale of the F1 Racing League season for the Xbox division. And coming into this final race of the season, MJ Povey has taken over the championship lead from Fast 6 driver with the win last week in Mexico, but the gap between them only 6 points at the top. So we come into Mexico with a real opportunity for a championship decider to bring it all the way down to the wire. We still have a decently close fight, but pretty much wrapped up for P3 in the championship for Gallimums. He has a 21-point lead over Quimbulas, and that would take Quimbulas taking his first win of the season, and Gallimums outside of the points to make that one change any positions. Voki, though, hounding down on Quimbulas, definitely capable of the podium he needs. A 14-point gap separates P5 from P4 in the championship. Further down, we have Racer 04 and Palantir tied on 60 points in the season for P6 in the championship. QX Nemesis in P8 on 45 points has made some serious moves since coming back on. We'll see where he can put his car and maybe jump in with the race closer to the top 5 there. Onslaught, though, holding down P9 in the Renault there. 36 points to his name, only 9 points back of QX Nemesis, but only 4 points further behind is Habs fan Nick in the Alfa Romeo, lurking right behind an opportunity for him to jump further into the top 10. But Chuck SRQ, only 11 points back, looking to have a finish that gets him inside of the top 10 of the championship in this final race. But just behind him by only 1 point is El Gloverino and MD the First. MD the First, though, not taking part in today's race. So El Gloverino looking to come ahead of Chuck SRQ to jump him in the final standings at the end of the season. Then we have the Kel 89 in the Racing Point on 14 points for the season. Awakens with his short return, and he's dropped out again. Only 10 points so far on the season. Alejandro Hayes in the other Racing Point, though, only 5 points back of his teammate for P14, has 9 points to his name. K3M, or Cam Rodelos there, has 4 points to his name, so 5 further points back of Alejandro Hayes, but has shown decent form since returning, just getting caught up in a couple of incidents, but comes into this race now tied with his teammate, AWD Turbo Guy, who is still battling with Stanier for that final points position. 4-3 coming into this one, and Sam Beam looks to get his name on the points list at the finale of this season here. But as we've finished up with the championship tables, we're going to jump out onto track as a few cars are getting ready to set up for their flying laps. We're on board with the Alpha Tauri of QX Nemesis, the defending champion from last season, making a late season return and has turned in some pretty stellar performances so far, really showing he's able to jump right back in and get back up to the pace. But all eyes so far today will be on the Ferrari and the Williams you have here, as MJ Povey moving out of the way as the Racing Point getting set up. So he's going to try and build a little bit of a gap before he comes out of Jinsao, and now puts his foot down, cranks up the engine power, and gets ready to start the first flying lap for his session here. A couple of cars ahead of him on track have started their flying laps before. We see 2 Racing Points and his Williams teammate of Quimbulas there, but really the times to be looking at will be from MJ Povey, from QX Nemesis, and from Fast 6 driver. Look for that battle for the championship lead to also turn into a battle for pole position. Getting the best opportunity for a good start around here and getting clean air is going to be very, very important for your lap times, especially with the run into the Senna S into turn 1 there. Big overtaking opportunity as you run up the hill on lap 1 there, and also big opportunity for cars to get side by side or get into each other, and so you want to try and be as far up the order as you can to avoid as much damage as possible. But really it's going to be all about the top 2 in the championship today. It's the closest fight up and down the field aside from those outside of the top 10. It is really what everybody is going to be looking out for. Strategy-wise, around here you should see a one-stop strategy. The soft onto the hard being the softer bet, but you can make a soft onto medium strategy work. Barring any kind of damage, you shouldn't see too many two-stop strategies, as Quimbulas puts in the early fast lap first there and goes 108, as Povey now crosses the line and goes a 107.156, so it goes even a little bit quicker. Now we're on board. QX Nemesis crosses, goes P2 overall, a half a second back, a 107.7. Gallimums next across the line there, goes 9/10 back, a 108.064, so just outside of that time. But here, Fast 6 driver now hugging that left wall to shorten the line to it, and jumps QX Nemesis and goes P2. His teammate Gil Coverino P5, so the times are coming across very quickly. Kem up into P4 inside of the 108s there, who are going to jump on with next. Stanier in the McLaren with that DRS open, maybe catching a little bit of slipstream off of Sambeam in front, and he's going to go a 109 flat there, and that's going to put him provisionally P8 at the moment. Habs fan Nix will be next across the line there, sticking to that left side, and crosses the line, goes all the way up into 6th there into the 108s, and AWD Turbo Guy, the next car to cross the line. No, rather, he is starting a flying lap there. He must have had one invalidated, so no lap time coming across for AWD. Well, it looks like he's on his Stanier, though, looking to have fueled up enough to go for 2 flying laps in a row, so he's caught it in. He's gone purple through that first sector. You see that delta hovering right around that green mark. A good exit there is covering almost 3/10 of an improvement over his last lap. A little bit of wheel spin out of that corner there, but that's going to cost him just a hair of time. So we'll see as he's coming up on the back of Kem, who is on his slow in lap, so he will move out of the way. We'll see if Stanier can have a clean run. He's run a little bit deep through Jinsao there and gets a wheel out onto the grass, and that is going to cost him on his exit. He's going to lose all of that delta time, and even though he was fueled up enough to go for those 2 runs, he is going to have to abandon that lap as he's not going to be able to get that time back on the straight. So a big opportunity to improve there that he just missed out on by just not quite getting the exit he needed out of Jinsao. But as it sits right now, sitting comfortably right inside the top 10, provisionally P9. Now we've got Racer04 coming out on track. He had made an early attempt, but invalidated and decided to abandon the lap, but is now coming out on a new set of soft tires. So it's going to put him at a little bit of a desync from the rest of the field. So that should allow him a little bit of a clean room running. As he gets his tires all heated up, we'll see what he's able to accomplish on his first lap. Of course, invalidating there, that's not important since he's just on an out lap, and we'll see if anybody else is going to come through and set some new lap times. But provisionally at the top of the board right now, MJ Povey holding the championship lead and holding the provisional pole position over Fast 6 driver. Looks like Chuck has set a lap time of his own, jumping over into lap P14. And now Racer04 coming through the final corners, opening that DRS and having a bit of a bitrate issue there on his stream footage. So looking a little bit more Minecraft than Formula 1, but we'll stay on board because you can at least get the idea and see how he's doing. Has shown a great turn of form in this late stages of the season, so we'll see if he can continue to keep that running. He's shown very good qualifying pace, came 4th in Mexico last week. So we'll see if he's able to keep that pace up as he comes around the Brazilian circuit of Interlagos. Now through the slow Sector 2, through turns 8, 9, and then up the little kink of 10 and into the hairpin of 11. Not a lot of overtaking opportunity through Sector 2. It's really all about saving tires, saving fuel through there, and not losing too much ground. Some yellow flags ahead as he gets ready to head through Jinsao, but it looks like that was just the Ferrari backing off to make some room for his run. Maybe that might put him inside of slipstream range of Racer04, who is now opening the DRS with his flying lap, hugging that left side. We'll see what he crosses the line with this time. And he has got a 107.710 and puts himself provisionally P3 overall. Here we are on board, jumping with Quimulus, who is improving over his first lap there, about 2/10 of an improvement. We'll see if he's able to carry that all the way to the final line, see if he can get a better exit. The quick double short shift to 4th gear to get the traction down. He's improved nearly 4/10, so with that DRS open on that soft compound of tire, you should see pretty much everybody qualifying on. And it goes across the line, a 107.886. But here we are on with MJ Povey, a small improvement, red through the first sector, but a purple second sector to gain back all that time, very close to invalidating off the inside, and it improves by 1/10 and pushes it much closer to the 106 as Habs fan Nick getting his flying lap started as we jump on board with him. A little deep through the Senna S there, but it's all about the exit on the final part there. But we're going to jump off board and jump in with Fast 6 driver, who is improving over his previous lap time, but much like MJ Povey, only improving by just under 1/10, and that's not going to allow him to close the gap to Povey. He's about 1/4 of a second back, though still on that front row. Golly Moom's next one coming in, and goes almost completely even with his time, only 19 milliseconds of an improvement there. We'll jump over to El Gloverino, but you can see some cloud cover starting to come in. Early reports on the session were a dry qualifying session, but looks like we have some clouds starting to threaten. We'll see if that materializes into rain. It may be a situation where we lose our opportunity for some last second runs, but El Gloverino really improving on his lap time through that first sector there. Much more confident on the brakes into turn 8 there, but gone a little bit deep in turn 9, losing a little bit of time, but getting that power back down. Still about 4/10 of an improvement. We'll see if he can carry that one through the final sector and across the line. As he gets his foot down, about a half-second improvement over his previous best lap there. A 108.226 is what he is looking to beat, and he is well on pace to do it by 5.5 tenths. Goes provisionally P4, only 4/10 off of the top spots there. But here we are on with Kem, who is on his second lap, has already gone into the 107s. We'll see if he can improve, gets a much better launch off of turn 9 there and into turn 10 and 11. Has improved by about 2/10 so far. We'll see how he does through Junsao. Very important corner to get just right as it leads onto the extremely long straight, but gets very wide onto the grass there, and that's cost him all of that time that he's worked so hard to regain through that lap, and I think you'll see him abandon that one. We'll jump over now to AWD Turbo Guy, who is on the medium compounded tire, currently sitting outside of the top 10, so he would have that free tire choice in race anyway, but he is doing a run on the medium compound and has got a good amount of improvement already. A 109.6 gives him plenty of room to improve, but you still got to nail that lap down, and we'll see where he can put himself. Already improving by around 3/10 and holding right around that 3/10 of a second delta as he gets ready to hit the braking zone for Junsao. We'll see if he is running wide out onto that curbing and grass. Nope, he keeps it well on the tarmac, and you can see the delta improve just from getting that traction down. About 3/10 of an improvement. And that may be enough to jump him ahead of one, maybe the both of the racing points. Nope, he sandwiches himself right in between the Kel and Alejandro Hayes, provisionally P14 at the moment. But here, up towards the top is QX Nemesis, sitting P3 provisionally right now and getting ready to set another flying lap. Comes across line, swings very wide out onto that painted tarmac to open up his braking zone. Just missing the grass on the right side, but really trying to dive in to the S's, but takes just a little bit too much curb through turn 2 there, and that is going to cost him that lap time, so he's invalidated there now. We'll switch over to Quimbulus, who is going to try and improve on his lap. Carries much better speed over his previous laps through the Senna S's there, 1.5 of an improvement already. He's looking to try and put himself ahead of Racer 04 and El Gloverino, who he's been fighting with on track for the last few races. We'll see if that continues, that trend continues, but with P3 kind of out of sight in the championship, he's really going to be looking back to make sure he outperforms Voki to try and maintain 4th in the championship. But Sambeam has retired from the session as he pulls out of the pits there, so it doesn't look like it's been a crash that's DNF'd him. Looks like he has instead opted to fully retire, but Quimbulus sitting right on the border of that delta of improvement, but big oversteer moment, and he's lost the rear end and is into the barriers. That's front wing damage for him. A little too eager on the throttle there, and the back end just getting away. Probably looking at that delta, getting very close to going red and trying to push just a little hard as his teammate MJ Povey swings through with a 0.2 of a second improvement over his best lap, looking to put the pole position even a little bit further out of reach. But Quimbulus is moving again, but he's going to have to come in for another front wing. But here's MJ Povey hugging that left side at 0.2 of a second up. He crosses the line, goes into the 106s, a 106.818, and puts himself right on the top, right on the front foot. But you do have Fast 6 driver who's got some purple sectors to his name, but only around that 0.2 of a second improvement. That'll put him in the 106s nearly, just shy of it, 107.064. So just outside. But Racer 04 has moved himself up into P3. So putting himself ahead of QX Nemesis on the second row. Here we are with the McLaren of Stanier, who's gone a little bit wide onto the grass in the braking zone there. A little late turning his engine mode up. You see on lost quite a bit of time early on, but you can see that braking zone already nearly 0.7 of a second down just through the first sector there, and really just kind of getting onto that slippery grass where you don't have the traction. You saw him go very deep into the Senna S's there. Interesting to see him continuing this lap with very little, I'd say, opportunity to improve it at this stage. It might have been a better choice to save the fuel, save the ERS, but might just be trying to get a final good warm-up lap before he dives in to go for one more run. So far, the clouds still covering, but the rain looks to be holding off thus far. Voki up on P9, you can see on the timing cheese there, but importantly on a set of medium tires right now. We'll have to look and see if he set that time on the mediums or if he set it on a set of soft tires and is just out circulating on a set of mediums at the moment. But it looks like they are diving into the pit lanes there, and Haps van Nick and Standard's got to get on the brakes there, and there's a bit of a collision coming into the pit lane as Haps van Nick very slow to the pit line limiter and caught up the Kell and Stanier there. A little bit of contact between the two. But here we are. The man sitting third in the championship, Gallimum's out for his third flying lap of the session across the line to get that timer started and into the Senna S's. Sitting P10 provisionally at the moment, is typically qualified quite a bit up higher. Might just be a little bit off the pace at the moment, but look for his consistency to show in the race, even with a further down the order grid spot. But it looks like, yes, there's little drops of rain coming out now, and you can see that delta time might start to slip away. Nick has dropped from such, oh golly, even with the rain has cut a little bit too close to the inside, and that is going to invalidate that lap time. And with that rain coming down, there's not going to be a lot of opportunity for anyone else to improve over the final 2.5 minutes of this session. Keep an eye out and see if anybody decides to jump out on track. But as it stands, we have MJ Povey, Fast 6 driver, Racer 04, QX Nemesis, El Glaverino, Haps van Nick, Quimbulus, K3M, Voki, and Gallimum's rounding out the top 10. Stanier, Chuck SRQ, both of the racing points of the Kell and Alejandro Hayes, sitting in 13th and 14th. AWD Turbo Guy and Sam Beam on the final row of the grid for the season finale. But we'll keep an eye out as a few cars are still circulating out on track. See if anybody's able to make any kind of improvements. But with the rain coming down and on a set of slick tires, I would say it's certainly time for this one to be over. We'll have to check and see when we load into the race situation whether this weather is going to stick with us for the race or whether we will see that sunshine come back out again. Of course, Interlagos always has the opportunity for some crazy weather to really play a big role in the race. Most importantly, with Lewis Hamilton's first championship, as Timo Glock stayed out on the dry tires as the conditions changed late in the race, and coming out of the final corner, the famous call, is that Glock going slowly, as Felipe Massa had taken the race win and thought he had the position to take the championship there. But with that final lap, final corner pass, Lewis Hamilton was able to secure the first of his 7 championships. It looks like most of the drivers have opted for retirements at this stage, with Gallimum's pulling into the pit lane, and it looks like we've got a slow-moving car out on the outside there. That might be one of the AIs just kind of trundling around down the front straight. Still have the racing points out on track at the moment. May be trying to improve. I mean, if they put in a good enough lap time, being in the 109s right now, they could be improving enough to improve their lap times, even with the rough conditions. But you can see how much he's kind of wrestling the car a bit through those corners. The back end really sliding around on him, and I think the amount of rain coming down, it might just be too much to handle. As a big oversteer moment coming out of that final corner there before you head down to Junsao. You can see now 2.4 seconds off the pace, and yeah, he has got no grip left in those tires, so he will certainly dive into the pit lanes and go ahead and retire for the session. The Racing Points sharing that 7th row on the grid, P13 and P14. Alejandro Hayes now the last man out on track, coming through the final corners there. We will keep an eye on that pink dot. It looks like, yes, he's taken to the pit lane and is getting on the brakes, and that should bring an end to this session as El Gloverino, the only car to actually take the checkered flag out on track. Everybody else either retiring early or getting into the pit lanes and not finishing the final flying lap of the session. But El Gloverino putting himself well up the tables here, getting himself a nice start on the third row. But as we wait for the game to finally load everybody up into the garage, we should be able to jump ahead to the race session and get the season finale underway. But one more time, your qualifying order at the top. MJ Povey taking the pole position by a quarter of a second from Fast 6 driver Racer 04 and QX Nemesis taking the second row of the grid. El Gloverino and Habs fan Nick holding down row 3. Quimulus and Chem row 4, P7 and 8, and Voki and Gali. So that group that was fighting all through the last couple of races at Japan and at Mexico, Quimulus, Voki, and Gali will continue to battle. And Voki did in fact set on those medium compound tires, so he will have an opportunity for an alternate strategy. We will see as one of our drivers, I didn't get a quick glimpse of who it was, is getting their fuel load and their strategy set. Looks to be the Haas of Chem there, so he has got himself ready to go from the fourth row on the grid, and we'll see what kind of a launch he can get. Has shown excellent starts in his return to the grid at the tail end of this season, so we'll see if he's able to continue to get very good starts.
Right, we'll change
so it looks like Povey is making some little tweaks to his strategy there. Maybe looking to run a little bit longer on that set of soft tires, but now we'll jump on board with him as we get the formation lap underway, and he leads the field away as the lights go green and the weaving starts. He's setting those medium tires for his pit stop strategy, so it looks like he's going for the one-stop soft onto medium as Chem is launching his way to the front of the field to win the formation lap race. He's shown a propensity to not stick in line, but you can see we are with Fast 6 driver, who is also on the soft compound of tires, getting those warmed up. Racer 04 on the red wall soft tires to go with that yellow Renault. So we'll see what kind of strategy he opts for later in the race. But soft tires all the way down so far. You can see on board with QX Nemesis those red walls on that front set of tire compounds. So it looks like he is continuing. Looks like he's got those soft tires on as well. I believe Voki is the only one inside of the top 10 that's going to be starting on that medium compound of tire. El Gloverino P5 as they come through the slow and twisty second sector. Not a lot of opportunity to weave the car through there as you're constantly just turning.
Looking good.
Habs fan Nick with that tire temperature display up has got a little bit of work to do to get some more heat in there. Those 79C are a little bit under temperatured. Quimulus making the change in his MFD to go for those medium tires as well. Chem has got the temperature in that he needs, it looks like, in the mid 80s, as does Gali. You can see on the little timing screen up top left there, Voki is in fact ahead on that medium compound of tire. We've got Sambeam and the Kel. It looks like AWD Turbo Guy, one of the only ones to be opting for the medium tire, even outside of the top 10. So looks like the majority of the strategy are going for that soft to hard strategy, perhaps the soft to medium. But we'll jump back up with the leaders of the race, the leaders of the championship, as they line up as they are in the tables. 1-2 on the grid, 1-2 in the championship tables right now. Fast 6 with the inside line. We'll see if he can get a good enough launch to make a lunge on Povey into turn 1 as the last cars get set up on the grid. And now the lights coming up. 3, 4, 5 red lights as the revs build and lights are off. A very short hold. Povey and Fast 6 getting away pretty equally. Racer 04 getting away well on the outside there, and Povey able to move to the inside and cover off that attack. Now we'll jump to the back with AWD Turgai as Chuck SRQ is sideways through the center S's and quite a big tangle. Sambeam, Stanier all tangled up in a bit of a melee into turn 1 there, so that's going to cost perhaps a front wing or two, but now AWD able to avoid the carnage and has picked up several positions from that start. He's got the racing point of Alejandro Hayes out in front of him. Quimbulas right on the back of El Gloverino, but also has Habs fan Nick for very close company. El Gloverino qualifying quite a ways up the grid there. We'll see if he's able to convert it into race pace, or if we will see him drop through the field in a battle with some of the top of the table drivers. But El Gloverino really shown a very good turn of form at the tail end of the season here. It has really just been a few unfortunate incidents that have caught him out at various stages. But with no DRS for the first 3 laps, we'll see if Quimbulas is going to look to make an attack early on. He's got that fuel mix up to Rich. He's got the overtake on, grabbing that slipstream as he's trying to make a move up to El Gloverino, who though has Kem in front of him. And Gloverino now looking to the inside of the Senna S's and holds a little bit of contact between him and Kem. And side by side they go through turn 2, and Kem has to yield out. A little bit of a snap of oversteer, it looked like, as Kem has dropped 6/10 back, but Quimbulas has got the run, so Kem not getting the launch he needs. And Quimbulas down the inside of turn 4, side by side, waiting to clear him, leaving space on the exit, but now has gotten that position done from Kem there, who looks to have been struggling a bit. Has a 5-second penalty early on. Just seems to be a little bit out of control with the car, but Habs fan Nick now getting all over the back of Kem. So looks like Kem just a little bit out of rhythm early stages of this race. Got a great start, launched his way up into P6 overall, or P5 overall rather, but now seems to have had a few mishaps and is sliding his way right back down. We'll see if Habs fan Nick can make the move into turn 1 that Gloverino was, as Kem again getting a little out of sorts on the exit there. Wheel spin really struggling, and now Habs fan Nick looking to the inside. Nope, switching it to the outside, going the long way down the straight with that overtake on side by side. He's going to have the racing line in the braking zone. Is Kem going to challenge it? As Nick, a little bit of contact, looks like wheel to wheel between them, but it yields the space, although Kem gets a little bit better of a run out of that corner. We'll see if he's able to make a move stick there, but here we are with AWD, who is on the back of Alejandro Hayes with the DRS now as they come down into turn 4, and AWD not quite getting far enough alongside to really make a lunge there, but he's got a good exit, carrying that slipstream on Alejandro, but lifts out early. Not a smart place to try and stick your nose pretty single file through there unless you're well alongside, and rather smartly yields that position out and lives to fight another day. He does have the alternate strategy going, so Alejandro Hayes is going to have that extra grip for the first several laps or so, but eventually that tire advantage will switch around, and you will see AWD have the opportunity to attack on those medium tires a little later on. But now Quimbulas with the DRS on El Gloverino. The overtake on big overspeed as he's moving to the inside. Goes purple through that sector there. Hard on the brakes. Side by side, it looks like Gloverino's going to get a little bit ahead. Gloverino, though, cutting across. Oh, and there's contact between the two. Just not enough space left out on the track there. Looks like damage to the wing of Quimbulas, and El Gloverino, a half spin there. He's going to have to recover and get it back on track there.
He just moved across on me.
It looks like Kel had to yield that position for overtaking inside the yellow flags there, but we'll see if that wing damage is going to affect Quimbulas, although that slowdown has now put AWD Turbo Guy right in the thick of the racing points, makes his move past the Kel, and as Alejandro Hayes, his teammate, has slid through, but now we'll see whether that bit of wing flap you saw come off will have an effect on Quimbulas' lap times. But now AWD up into the points, and on that alternate strategy will allow him to go to a faster tire at the tail end. Although if he's pushing the tires a little harder, he may look to do the one-stop medium onto a set of hard compound tires to just really be on the safe side. It is a little bit marginal to stretch the mediums and softs to make the one-stop work. You definitely have to have a very significant tire save and really kind of ease them in. But we're jumping up with Gali as now Kem and Nick are together, and Nick, after trying to recover, and Gali not expecting the slowness of Nick and has gone right into the back of him. So big wing damage for Gali there. Just a mistake trying to get on the throttle, not seeing that Habs and Nick did not have the car really hooked up, was still recovering it from the contact between him and Kem. But that's shuffled Nick down the order. However, Nick only taking that impact on the backside means he's got a totally fine front wing. And now Gali also joining the ranks of drivers with damaged front wings around here. And that front wing is definitely helpful to have in this slow Sector 2 where you want that front end to really move. And most importantly, as you come down through turn 12, flat out when you've got that downforce, but you can see running a little bit wide as he's just not got that bite he needs to really help the car glue down to the track in that high speed corner. But now we've got quite a train forming. Gali, Nick, Quimbulas all in there. We can see the Racing Points and AWD Turbo Guy, a big cluster of cars, but it looks like Nick has got the DRS, having a look down the inside, and he's going to think better of it on Gali this time. Not going to make the lunge quite yet there, but Gali really struggling with that front end grip, and that's going to allow Nick a big run down the second DRS straight into turn 4. He's got that overtake on, not a lot of battery left for him, but he should, with that DRS, be able to breeze past. And another move being made a little further back. AW Turbo Guy making his move past Alejandro Hayes, but they're side by side, a little bit of wheel to wheel banging there. And now, who will yield that position? AWD's on the outside, Alejandro on the inside. We'll see who hangs it out around the AWD, running a little bit wide, but has to yield that spot to Alejandro. Not having the braking performance on that medium compound and also out on that slick surface, but a big wheel spin moment there, and that's going to let Kel back through. So Kel really making very good opportunity of that mistake that AWD made coming through that corner. The wheel spin opened the door, and Kel was right there to take advantage of it. Big contact between the two. That's going to slide Kel out there. We'll see if that's done any damage to AWD Turbo Guy. Looked like Kel was on the brakes a little bit earlier than AWD was perhaps expecting, but we'll jump ahead to the championship fight at the start of the race. We've had tons of action through the field already. 7 laps into this 36-lap race, and now we're just starting to get on board with the front runners. MJ Povey, after getting away well, still leads this Grand Prix from Fast 6 driver, although Fast 6 staying within that 1 second mark. 7/10 back at this stage. We'll see if he's going to be able to close up enough to utilize that long DRS front straight and make an attack for the championship position. Fast 6 driver needs to come away with a win here in order to take that top spot in the championship. The DRS open. Fast 6, so about 8/10 back as they cross that line there. So that's going to be a little bit too far for him to recover. It looks like Povey might be running a little bit better launch out of that final corner because it was about 6.5, 7/10 through Sector 2, but all the way up to 8/10 as they hit that DRS mark. Now here we are with Quimbulas with the damaged wing on Gali Mooms with the damaged wing side by side through turns 1 and 2. Gali again going a little bit deep into turn 3 onto the curb, and Quimbulas switches it to the outside, puts his foot down, uses that ERS, and now has the DRS to help him down the second straight there. And you see Gali just has to look ahead as Quimbulas has secured that corner. Now both with the wing damage, we will see who's got it worse off as they're going to continue to fight it out. Neither car operating at optimum capacity there. As you can see, both running a little wide through that double right-hander, turns 6 and 7. Gali doing well to stay close enough to be inside of that DRS range. Still about 8/10 of a second, but it's all about the launch off of this final corner. He can get where Quimbulas so out on the curbing there. That might cost him a little bit in traction. Yes, you can see that delta time already coming down. Doesn't even have the DRS open yet. Now with the overtake button, that rich fuel mixture, you can see it down less than a half a second now with the slipstream. Gali having a think about it. No, he's going to slot in this time, but a big opportunity, gaining tremendously through that first run. And now he's going to have an extra little squirt of DRS to help him close right back up on Quimbulas once again. Gali carrying lots of battery compared to Quimbulas here. He has got a 60%, nearly 70% of the battery in. Last time we were on board with Quimbulas, he was running down around 10% or so. So not a lot of opportunity for it. But Chuck getting sideways on the inside of turn 5 there, and that has opened the door for AWD. And it looks like Chuck has gone fully across the track. Has he managed to keep it out of the barriers? It looks like he just hooked the inside curb and got onto the grass through turn 5 there. Slow to get started again, although that car is moving on the minimap. So no safety cars or virtual safety cars to clear up. He is still there. And now AWD still battling with these 2 racing points for that last spot inside the points. It's early days here, and he's on an alternate strategy. But if he can start making his way past these cars, it'll put him on the front foot when it comes later in the strategy part of the race. We'll jump back forward as Gali much closer this time, and with the DRS, he dives up the inside, though goes very deep. Quimbulas now looking to switch it back around the outside, turn 2, turn 3, but Gali seems to get the traction down. Quimbulas very little battery left, about to run out, and Gali moving slightly defensive, and it's just not enough for Quimbulas to fight it back down into turn 4 there. Gali running deep into turn 1, but managing to kind of cut off any optimal angle for Quimbulas to be able to fight back and defending his position well. So after making that move on Gali, Quimbulas has now lost that position, is back down to 8th place overall. But this battle between the 2 drivers that has gone on all season for P3 in the championship still will fight out the same way that they have all season, although they are doing it for substantially less points this time around. Quimbulas doing well to stay fairly close to Gali, although Gali getting the better launches off of Jinsao there, and you can see opening up to about nearly 0.6 of a second before it starts closing back up. But Quimbulas not having the battery left really to close up fully. You can see already flipping down to that lean fuel mixture, saving fuel down into turn 1. A little bit of an overrun into turn 1 there, and a little bit of a foolish track limits warning there, taking a little bit too much in turn 2. But here we are back with the front runners once again. The order's still the same, neither carrying penalties, but Fast 6 just a little bit closer this time now, inside of 0.7, about 6.5 between the 2. It's all about that exit. If you have a better exit coming out of Jinsao there, you can really attack with that DRS. You see Povey though really opening it back up to about 0.7, getting on the throttle there. Might be using some of that overtake button to build that gap with tons of battery. Surprising to see Fast 6 laying off of using that overtake to close the gap, but still the battle for the championship turning into quite a fight. MJ Povey, importantly, holding the fastest lap point at this stage as well. If Fast 6 is able to win the race ahead of MJ Povey in second, the fastest lap could play a big role, with it only being a 6-point gap coming into the race there. 25 points for the win compared to the 19 for second and fastest lap would be exactly that 6-point differential, and then it would go to the countback, who has more wins over the season. And coming into today's race here, MJ Povey does hold that count back, 5 race wins to 4. But with if Fast 6 is able to take the win, it would make them 5 apiece, and then you would go to second position count back, which is also tied, 3 P2s apiece. But then when you go to the final count back position in P3s, that's where it would go to Fast 6 drivers. So MJ Povey really needing to come out front here, or at least not letting, or at least keeping that fastest lap point, but a very tight battle through here. So the road to the victory, Fast 6 driver needs the win over MJ Povey if Povey is going to come second. And right now their route's so far ahead that it looks like it won't be anybody getting in their way or having an unfortunate incident, you don't think, as Kem is one of the first to blink, come into the pit lanes. Looks like he's getting ready for the hard compounded tires. He's serving a penalty. Gali into the pit lanes as well, as is got a new front wing going on, as does Quimbulas. So they're all together coming in, grabbing a new set of tires. Quimbulas on to the hards now. We saw him make that switch switch to the mediums in the MFD at the start of the race, but with coming in a little bit earlier, I'm sure, with that wing damage, he's definitely going to go on to the hard tires. So now he comes out. Gali, Quimbulas, Alejandro Hayes onto the medium compound, maybe looking for that 2-stop strategy. You can see on the top, teammate into the pits, Povey and Fast 6 both into the pits together. And as we saw last time in Mexico, that little bit of a hold that slowed up Quimbulas's pit stop. Yes, they're not ready for him because Quimbulas came in. So he's got a slow pit stop. Fast 6 driver is gone through. Now the tires finally going on, the hard tires going on for Povey. But the pit crew was not ready for him. That bug that there is in the game where if your teammate's in, even though Quimbulas had cleared the pit exit line by the time Povey was coming in, that crew was just not ready. And now MJ Povey has 5 seconds off to catch back up, but Fast 6 driver, importantly, has picked up a 5-second time penalty up ahead. So MJ Povey has to close up an extra 1/10 of a second to put himself back into race-winning position. But huge change there is now Quimbulas and Gali coming up on Stanier, who has stayed out, who has been out longer on that set of soft compounded tires there. So we'll see if on the fresh tires they're able to come through. Kel coming out with some penalties of his own. But that battle between Quimbulas and Gali is still raging on as they continue. We're going to need to find a way past Stanier and quick. The first full lap out on the hard tires, definitely trying to get them up to operating temperature, as Gali trying to find a way past Stanier, and Quimbulas just looking for a slot to come through. There's a big oversteer moment. Quimbulas catches it, but the rear tire gets on the grass, and that sent him spinning. It is sideways and onto the grass, and is doing a good imitation of Valtteri Bottas in Austria's qualifying and doing a bit of lawn mowing, but that has cost Quimbulas 4 positions there. That spin has taken him completely out, and now Stanier is into the pit lanes, and Gali is using that DRS off of him. So now Gali's got quite a gap behind him to work with, no longer with the pressure of Quimbulas. Quimbulas making an easy mistake, and it costing himself a spot inside the points at this stage. And now Gali looking ahead, 3.8 seconds to El Gloverino, who's on a set of soft compounded tires. I didn't get to see if he is out on the set that he has started on and has dropped through the field, or if he is opting for a 2-stop strategy today. You can see the penalties starting to rack in. Kem carrying 3 seconds, Gali carrying 3 seconds, Kel carrying 11 seconds, and you just saw Fast 6 driver taking the fastest lap of the race away from MJ Povey. So that slow pit stop really costing Povey big time now. Looks like another Williams is stopped. That's going to be Quimbulas there. It's gone around once again. So really shooting himself in the foot in this race after trying to battle his way up to 3rd in the overall Drivers' Championship. He's now having a bit of a stinker of a race, I'd say. But here we are back with Kem looking ahead to Habs fan Nick, both on the hard compounded tires, so looking to go to the end of the race on lap 16 of 36, 20 laps left to go, and just about a second separating these two drivers. We'll see if Kem is going to be able to close up inside of that 1 second mark to put himself in position to get in the DRS range to make a move down that front straight. He's closed himself 8/10 as they get ready to head to Junsao there. We'll see if he's able to get a good launch off that final corner, or if Nick is stretching the gap there, but Kem, it does have that DRS, so he will be able to close it back up just a little bit coming in there, and he's using that overtake button. He's got plenty in the battery to utilize, but it's not going to be enough to make an attack here, and he's coming a little bit hot there, gets it slowed down, avoiding the back of Nick, but it's taken just a little bit of a scrappy line through the S's. And even though he's able to close right up to the gearbox of Nick there, just doesn't put himself in the perfect position to utilize this second DRS zone. But after being about a second, 1.2 seconds back last time around, he is in a few tenths of a second better position than he was on the last lap. Although we heard Jeff there for a second there saying he's picked up a time penalty for running wide on the exit of turn 4 there. So now the difference, Nick with no time penalties, Kem with 6 seconds worth of track limits penalties. So he's going to have to clear Nick and then also build a bit of a gap in order to be able to maintain this position. But Nick getting a decent launch off of Jinsal again. However, Kem much closer this time, utilizing that battery, the DRS in the slipstream, to see if he's going to try and find a way by moves to the inside and is going to back out of that move. Had a little bit of a look on a deep dive, and I think Nick was looking to leave him some space there as he's gone deep into turn 1 there. But now that's put Kem on the front foot as they head down into turn 4. And this time he's able to make that move by on the inside, and Nick has nothing to do but slot in there. So Kem with an overtake, moving himself up to P6 overall now with 5 seconds to chase down AWD Turbo Guy, who has yet to pit. So here we are back with the front of the field. Fast 6 drivers picked up another 3 seconds worth of time penalties there. Has 8 seconds worth of penalties. He is gapping Povey a little bit. Has gotten the lead out to 5.7 seconds. But MJ Povey is still now in race winning and, importantly, championship winning position. It's going to be important for him to not pick up any track limits penalties to finish this race cleanly. And that should put him in a very good, even if he's going to lose a couple of tenths a lap the rest of the way down, or a tenth or two a lap, then he should be able to stay within that 8-second margin if he stays clean. QX Nemesis not quite in the fight for the win there, but well up on Racer 04 in P3, so looking for a podium. AWD Turbo Guy is into the pit lanes for a new set of hard tires, and El Gloverino, he was 2-stopping, is now coming out on a set of medium compound tires after that early tangle with Quimbulus that certainly sent into the pit lanes the first time. Now has a set of medium tires. Might be able to manage the mediums all the way till the end of the race at this stage. As you can see, Quimbulus going right by him. However, El Gloverino has a big tire advantage at this stage of the race. Quimbulus on some old hards, and El Gloverino on very, very fresh medium compound tires. So look for Gloverino to close that gap right back up to Quimbulus and make the move shortly. We're switching over to Habs fan Nick, who is still locked in battle with Kem. Kem was able to make some significant gains in closing up to Nick to make the overtake, but is yet to clear him so far. Nick staying within that DRS range, utilizing that reduced drag to help stay in. You hear a little bit of lockup. Might have been sounded like a little bit of rear locking. I didn't see the front tires locking a little bit, so it may be time for him to look at sliding his brake bias a little bit forward to keep those from locking up a little bit more. But still within that 1 second mark of Kem, this might be a battle we see go to the end of the race, barring any kind of mistakes between the two drivers. And you can see also on the hard tires behind, about 7.6 seconds, so some ground to make up, is Gali there, but he did start in P10 and came in with wing damage, so is turning out to be having a decently successful race for himself, recovering up through the field a little bit. We'll see if he's going to be able to, over the final stages of this race, close up to the back of this battle, especially if Nick and Kem keep fighting each other and start getting close enough to where there will be some significant defense necessary to keep them behind. But House Nick can be fairly patient. He knows that he's got that 6-second advantage on Kem there, who will fall behind at the end of the race because of those time penalties being applied. And here we are jumping on with the Ferrari of El Gloverino, closing up on Quimbulus. They're not quite close enough to make the attack into turn 1 there, but depending on his exit here, he may have an opportunity into turn 4 to make another attack. He's got the DRS open, not using that overtake mode, so looks like happy to just close the gap and set Quimbulus up for another run down the front straight. Should be not too long with the tire advantage between the two that El Gloverino is going to be able to make that move stick. Now, importantly for Quibulus here is, even with the off-track excursions he's had, he has still managed to stay penalty-free, so if he can work his way up towards AWD Turbo Guy and the racing points ahead, still has an opportunity to grab some points here in this season finale, although this one definitely not going the way he I'm sure would have expected or wanted it to. But here we are, Gloverino going around the inside, Quibulus taking to the inside to try and defend a little bit, but El Gloverino way too much overspeed into turn one there and has got that move totally done through there. We'll see if Quibulus is going to be able to fight back into turn four with the DRS open. Not a lot of battery left, not even deploying that overtake. Gloverino thought about defending for a moment, saw Quibulus was not looking to make a move and has moved back to the racing line. Quibulus without an answer to the fresher tires of the Ferrari in front of him, and El Gloverino now with his eyes set on AWD Turbo Guy just ahead. We'll jump back to this battle between Kem and Habs fan Nick, which is still raging on, and nobody's been able to pull a gap. Nobody's been able to make an overtake since Kem got by Nick the first time. We'll see, is it the time? No. Nick slotting right back into that racing line, getting on the brakes, still dealing now with a little bit of front locking there, so might be having to pick his braking point a little bit early, might be losing just a little bit of traction in those tires. But now with that DRS once again open down the Red Pasta into turn four, not close enough to make the move, and so once again just stuck in the dirty air of Kem. Nobody really has a pace advantage between the two, so look for these two to still keep fighting it out. Look for anybody to make any kind of mistake, because with the similarity that these two are showing in pace, will certainly be a mistake that indicates the difference and might be the decider for these two. See, actually, though, it looks like on the damage report, Nick is carrying a little bit of light front wing damage on the right front there. You see here Jeff chiding him about taking care of the tires, but that might be why Nick doesn't quite have the pace to catch Kem there. Might have that little bit of wing damage definitely going to cost him in some of these sections. But oh, Chuck is out of the session, has retired from the session. We'll see where he's gone off, or if he's pulled into the pits and retired there. We'll see. Keep an eye out, though. Usually by this point, any kind of safety car or VSC would be called. So it looks like we've managed to dodge any kind of safety car or VSC. We will stay green flag racing as we have 12 laps left to go in this one, the final third of the race. We just saw this section of track go green, so it looks like this is where Chuck had gone off, although his car has already been cleared and recovered. Nick conserving the overtake, conserving some of the fuel, having a little bit of a look on the inside of Kem there, but still not quite making the lunge, although Kem a little bit deep through turn one. Nick picking up a little bit of a track limits warning through turn two, but we'll see. It's gotten a good run now with that DRS open, not utilizing the overtake button though. Might have had an opportunity to pounce if he had that overtake on, but still seems to be content to just hang with Kem there. Gali not reeling this group in, has fallen now to 8.5 seconds back. We'll jump ahead with MJ Povu, who is now just 5 seconds back of Fast 6 and is starting to make his way through some lapped traffic. Stanier, the ghosted McLaren there, is Povey's going to get a little bit of DRS help from the ghosted lapped traffic there and might allow him to pull in Fast 6 by another couple of hundredths of a second there, as he's now inside of that 5 second mark, has bought himself a little bit of flexibility. If he picks up a track limits penalty, would put him only at a 5 second delta to Fast 6 driver. So if he can stay within that 5 seconds, he can stress a little bit less about picking up a track limits penalty that would cost him the opportunity at the championship. QX Nemesis 12 seconds back, although has about another 9 seconds ahead of Racer 04, who is on the medium compounded tires. We'll see if Racer 04 is looking to go to the end on that set of mediums, or if he is going to be coming in for another stop before the end. Should, though, with his positioning, be able to stretch them out, as he's just ahead of Kem by about 16 seconds. So even if he starts losing pace, he should be able to stretch those tires. Now we're back with this battle of AWD Turbo Guy and the Racing Points. Now closing up on Alejandro Hayes, all carrying 3-second penalties around him, except for the Kel, who looks to be carrying about 14 seconds to his name. So he'll be dropping back a fair bit once they cross the final line. Only 10 laps left to go in this one. Alejandro on the medium compound, while AWD on the hard compound of tire there. But AWD inside of that 1 second mark. We'll see if he's going to get himself into a good position to make an overtake on the main straight. But it looks like a lot of the drivers coming into this race were thinking of opting for that soft to medium strategy. However, made a change midway through to instead go to the hard compound of tire. And yes, Alejandro Hayes is into the pit lane, so he's diving in for a new set of fresh rubber. And now AWD Turbo Guy looking behind at El Gloverino, who is coming up rather quickly on that set of medium compound tires. Only about a second and a tenth separating them at this stage, as Gloverino really reeling that in, has managed to gap Quimulus. You can see Quimulus just showing on the timing screen there in P11, 4.2 seconds back, and still having to make up a bit of ground to get himself back into the points. But with 1 racing point on the medium compounded tires coming into the pit lanes, I would be surprised if the Kel, the other racing point, is indeed going to be staying out on his set of medium tires. And you can see El Gloverino's pace on those fresher mediums compared to the hards, already now 0.7 of a second back. We'll jump on board with him as we get ready to head to Junsao, who is going to get the better launch off of turn 12 there, turn 13 rather, Junsao. And it looks like it is El Gloverino. Only 0.4 separating them even before they hit the DRS. And now with that rear wing wide open, AWD Turbo Guy staying to the outside, not even fighting it. And El Gloverino has gotten that move done down into turn 1. Gets the car slowed down from that extra overspeed of the DRS and overtake. Although a bit of wheel spin on the exit, we'll see, is AWD going to be able to fight it back. About a half second separating them now with the DRS wide open. 0.4, 0.3, 2.5, but not quite enough. Just getting inside 0.2 on the braking zone there, but AWD having to yield. And now El Gloverino looking ahead at both the Kel and Gali. Here we are with the race leader, Fast 6 driver, coming up on some more lap traffic. The teammate of MJ Povey there in the Williams, Quimulus, about to go a lap down, and Fast 6 driver with only 4.1 seconds of a gap ahead of MJ Povey might be feeling this championship start to slip away. He's got to hope that MJ Povey makes some mistakes, picks up some track limits penalties, because right now Povey has the measure of him on pace and has the penalty advantages. Fast 6 getting a bit of a squirmy exit out of Junsao there, and that's going to cost him another 1/10 or so, although he is going to get the DRS off of the Williams of Quimulus, and now moves down right onto the racing line, hard on the brakes, and is able to get that move done on Quimulus, not having to make his way around, and as a result, Quimulus also not having to worry about going out of his way for the blue flags. Fast 6 pretty much right on the money with fuel, only about 1/10 of a lap or so under fueled at the moment. You can really run very light fuel around this track, as the entire second sector, as you're seeing Fast 6 do right now, you can pretty much just leave it in that lean fuel mixture. It's actually going to help you not put too much power down, not spin up the rear wheels too much. It isn't until you get out of the final corner, Junsao, that you crank it back up to that rich mix and really let the car breathe down that main straight. But you can see, gone from 1/10 of a lap short to pretty much even by saving through that. Although now you'll see that that fuel start to flow back out. It's just the balancing act you do around Interlagos here. Sam Beam retires in the pit lane there, although it looks like the AI is going to apparently decide to drive it out. So hopefully that comes out in a spot that is not going to cause any kind of trouble. It gets parked in a good position to not bring out any safety cars or VSCs. But here we are with El Gloverino now, right up behind the racing point of the Kell, who, although on the same kind of tires, that 14-second penalty total is definitely going to cost the Kell come the end of this race.
Tire condition is still looking good.
So now it's going to be important for Gloverino to be patient, not get too over-eager in making his attack on the Kell. Should be able to, with a good launch out of Jinsao, have a fairly easy time making that overtake happen. He's within 3.5 tenths as they exit Jinsao, so once that DRS flips open, just needs to find some clear road. He's going to go around the outside, maintain the normal racing line. He is well clear of him before the braking zone, so he's gotten himself up now into P8 and now has 11 seconds to make up on Gali Mooms there if he wants to hope to pick up another position. With only 5 laps left to go in this race. 5 laps left to go before we crown the Division 1 Xbox champion for Season 2, as Povey and Fast 6 still dueling it out front.
We have 5 laps of fuel remaining.
Big lockup from Gloverino in there and a little bit of twitchiness in the rear end, although it looks like he's gotten that back under control. So a little bit of a scrappy run through the second sector, but showing plenty of pace on that set of medium tires. And here we are with Habs Van Nick, still penalty free, but has lost now 1.4 seconds on Kem there. So he's fallen out of that DRS range. However, Kem still carrying that 6 seconds worth of penalties, and Habs Van Nick still penalty free. So at this stage where they stand, Nick would jump into the top 5. Here we are on board with Quimbulas, and now he's got Voki all over in his mirrors, and Voki on a set of soft compounds. MJ Povey right there with the DRS assistance for his lapped teammate. But Voki on a very quick set of tires at the closing stages of this race. Voki 14 points back of Quimbulas in the Drivers' Championship. Both of them outside of the points right now, and Voki carrying 6 seconds worth of penalties, although Voki will look to really optimize what these soft tires can do late in the race. Try and make his way past Quimbulas fairly early. There's not going to be much defending that Quimbulas is going to be able to do on the much grippier compound that Voki's on. You can see Quimbulas running a little bit wide in the hairpin there. Gets it back down and is on the throttle, but Voki now looking to really get that car hooked up and launching off of the final corners. Quimbulas opening up with the rich fuel mix, the overtake mode on, but it's not, I don't think, going to be enough. Voki flips open that rear wing, and you can see the closing speed. He has Fast 6 setting a new fast lap, and Quimbulas not going defensive, staying to the outside as Voki steams it up the inside, gets it slowed down for turn 1, and with that extra grip, carries that pace all the way through turn 2 and 3, through the finale of the Senna S's there, and has made his move past AWD Turbo Guy, though, making a move already on the Kell 89, so moving up and getting that position out and done on track. Now looking ahead towards El Gloverino, similar on penalties, but he is within that 3 seconds. So if El Gloverino picks up a late, which he just did, has gone now from 3 to 6 seconds of penalties for El Gloverino. That has put AWD Turbo Guy now in a net P8 overall if he can stay within that 3 second margin of El Gloverino. Gloverino, though, on some fresher and faster tires. We'll see if he's able to open that 3 second gap back up as MJ Povey goes through. That might be good news for AWD because he's going to get the DRS off of that lead car now that he's gone through across the detection point. You see that timer ticking down, and open up that rear wing and try and close up to El Gloverino. We'll check in with QX Nemesis, who's been running a very strong P3 over the entire distance of this race here. 16 seconds off of MJ Povey and Fast 6 up at the front, but with a 13-second lead to P4.
Our gap to the car in front is is 16.4 seconds. They're on old hards. Their tyres are 20 laps old. The time last lap was a 1 minute 9.6.
You see a very strong podium position for QX Nemesis to close out the season on if he's able to just bring it home. Only carrying 3 seconds worth of penalties, so barring any kind of major incident where he spins or drops 10 seconds to QX Nemesis, or I mean to Racer 04 in the last lap and a half, he should be able to bring home a podium at the season finale. But as it stands, Fast 6 driver out in front with that fastest lap point, however, carrying 8 seconds worth of time penalties and only about a 3-second gap to MJ Povey behind. Quimulus making a move toward on the Kel. A little bit of contact as Kel moves to the outside to defend. Quimulus so going long around the outside of the S's, is dropping back, looking to make the cutback work here, getting the throttle down and now getting a bit more of a run through turn 3. Quimulus had the overspeed down the straight. The Kel moved to block fairly late. Maybe it might have been a little bit of contact, but with the second DRS straight, Quimulus able to go up the inside and has now taken on P11. Though with the 6-second penalty to Voki ahead, will put him in a net P3. MJ Povey and Fast 6, though, on the final lap of the race here. Put quite a few cars a lap down at this stage. But with the timing gap, looks like as it stands, MJ Povey has also taken the fastest lap point off of Fast 6 there. But as it stands, Povey will end up with the race win, even though Fast 6 is going to take the checkered flag. And as they get ready to come across the line, a stunning battle between the two drivers, back and forth all season, comes down to the final race as Fast 6 takes the checkered flag, but MJ Povey jumps him on the penalties, takes the race win overall, and takes the championship for Season 2 to go along with the constructors that they clinched last race in Mexico. MJ Povey is your Season 2 champion in the Xbox division, and QX Nemesis coming across the line to take a final race podium, the defending champion handing his crown over to the Williams driver, but coming in with a fantastic final result. Now Racer 04 on that medium compounded tire, stretching it to the end, a strong P4 to close out the finale of his season. Looks like we've got Kem and Habs fan Nick coming across the line next. We'll jump on with Kem here as he's across the line. Habs fan Nick, though, within that 6-second margin, so he should take over that P5. Yes, and now Gollymoom's coming across. There's Nick across the line. Gollymoom's now coming across the line there in P7 overall, opening up a little bit more of a gap to Quimulus, and is the last car on the lead lap to finish the race. But didn't get the onboards for a lot of other drivers finishing being a lap down. We will give you the full rundown as soon as we get the timing sheet up there. But once again, taking the race win and taking the championship for Season 2 is MJ Povey, coming down to the final race of the season to get that job done. And the final margin between P1 and P2, 14 points of the gap. And there is your podium. MJ Povey on the top step, Fast 6 driver on P2, and QX Nemesis taking home third place as they celebrate the champagne of the race. I know Fast 6 is going to be a little bit gutted to not have converted in the final races of this championship, but still a stellar season back and forth between the two drivers. But as we head through the little XP gain here, we will get the final race classifications there, and then we will give you the final rundown of the Season 2 championship. MJ Povey taking the win. Fast 6 driver and QX Nemesis completing the podium. Racer 04 in fourth. Habs fan Nick by staying penalty free comes P5. Kem on his return P6 after podiuming here last season. Gollymoom's P7. AWD Turbo Guy picking up his biggest points haul of the season with a P8. Quimulus just inside the points in P9, and El Gloverino right behind in P10. Voki drops outside of the points on the penalties there, followed up by the Kel, Stanier, and Alejandro Hayes further down the order. But your final championship order, MJ Povey on top, only a 14-point gap to Fast 6 driver. Coming home third overall in the championship is Gali Mooms, and holding position number 4 is Quimbulus. Voki stays P5 after the result in Brazil. Racer 04 moves up to 6th, and QX Nemesis moves up a position to P7, taking 3 consecutive podiums on his final way through, and moves himself just ahead of Palantir, tied on points, but on the count back of podiums, takes that P7 in the championship. Habs fan Nick has moved up to P9, dropping Onslaught down to P10. Chuck finishes the season in P11, MD the first 12th, El Gloverino 13th, Mikel 89 in 14th. Kem moves up 2 spots with his P6 result into P15, moving down Awakens and Alejandro Hayes. AWD Turbo Guy picking up several points, but no positions there, is P18, and Stanier finishes the season in P19. And Sam Beam, P20 in his overall classification. But thank you guys for joining us all for Season 2 of the F1 Racing League. If you're looking to join, we're looking to get Season 3 going sometime early mid-January. Go to the subreddit F1 Racing League to follow along there, as we'll have the sign-up threads there. And, of course, join us on some of our off-season streams, and keep an eye out on the YouTube channel for some of that off-season content as well. But thank you guys for joining me once again. I've been Quimbulus, and I look forward to seeing you all next season.